going to take this green car out for a little bit of a drive on a nice day, just to make sure that things are working. I haven't really had it back together enough to drive it since I had to do the little valve adjustment issues, and had the distributors out and things. I wanted to just make sure that things are working. You know, in the Northeast, the weather can turn on us pretty quickly. I mean, it can turn pretty wintry pretty quickly. So when the weather like this in the fall is nice, I try to get out and drive it before the weather goes bad. So just driving it a little bit just to go through the paces before I send it off to Florida. This car is getting close. It's been with me for several months, taken a lot of parts off of it and sent it out for plating and finishing. You know, we have the new exhaust system on it. You know, so it's been quite a bit of work. I mean, it takes time. You know, you have to take pieces off. Not all the pieces are back. Most of them are back. But like, for instance, the bumpers aren't back yet. They should be back in about a week or two. What else am I waiting on? I mean, I got like a couple little detail stickers and seals that I have to get to finish things up. But generally, it's all kind of coming together. When I get back to the shop, I'll show you all the details that I fixed in the engine compartment. It's really coming together nicely. Engine compartment is basically done. The interior, unfortunately, is still kind of apart. I'm waiting for these trim pieces that were fabricated and are being chrome plated as we speak. So like, that part is still waiting to come back. I'm waiting for wipers. I've got, you know, wiper blades that need to be I need to get back because they are the wrong ones, and I'm trying to find the right ones for that. And then every time I look at the car, there's like a little thing that I have to adjust to make a little bit better. So it really is just part of that whole process of making the car right. And on top of all that, you know, I've got to make sure that the car runs and drives right, starts and everything else. So just taking it out real quickly now, just to make sure I had put everything back together correctly. That's part of what I'm doing now. So not taking it out too long, but just to make sure things are working well. But it feels good. Also, I have the new tires that I had the tires, wheels painted and then remounted and balanced, and I want to make sure there's no vibration. It feels pretty good. What else? I mean, it's just kind of just driving it to make sure nothing else turns up. As I was putting the car together, or as I was getting the car ready to drive, again, I noticed a couple little things. The weather stripping wasn't fitting right. I mean, it's just hundreds or dozens and dozens of things that I have to look out for, and hopefully I catch them all. But it kind of has to stay with you long enough to just kind of go through all of it. Now, I admit that a lot of these guys who do these judging, you know, they might not catch all of it because they only have like 15 minutes to go over the car. And when I have a car for months, every day I'm looking at this car. So I might catch stuff that they might not have caught. But the reason why I'm doing it is because I'm hoping I don't miss anything. So like, one guy might notice something, another guy might not. But like, you give 3 guys enough time, you know, they might catch something. So my job is to try to keep looking at everything. So I think the car's coming together. There's a couple of points here and there that I think I'm going to have to take a deduction on, just simply because it's way too much work to kind of take it apart again and redo. So I'm willing to take the deduction on certain points on this car, but that's part of getting this thing done the right way. You know, you just kind of have to accept certain things that you just can't fix and take the deduction. But as long as everything else is near perfect, we can hope that we'll do well. All right, I got the GTC outside just to show you some of the details that I've corrected since we since we started this whole project. You can see I painted the bracket, had the bracket plated as well, just because the old one was rusty. Replaced the distributor caps, so they're the correct brown ones. Grommets on the spark plug tubes. Black mechanics wire on the safety wire. A little bit of yellow paint dabs. Took the paint off where it wasn't supposed to be. Put the tag on the steering box. Put the correct heater hoses in with the braided texture and the correct clamps. Plated the alternator bracket. Painted the alternator and had the alternator detailed correctly. Replaced a bunch of these acorn nuts because they were all kind of mismatched and incorrect. Also black oxide exhaust shield bolts. The boot for the water temperature sender. Had the hood stay plated correctly along with the hook. Put the correct spring clamps on the vent hose. It's supposed to be green, but these were green and kind of like getting aged, so they have a greenish tint with a little bit of oil staining on it. Correct chainy clamps. Let's see what else on this side. Yeah, I had that plated correctly, white cad plated. Let's go to this side. Had the correct ribbed hose for the overflow with the correct clamp. Again, a bunch of little acorn nuts on this side. Polished the oil filler. Put the correct nuts on the stand for the accelerator. Clean that up and put black oxide on it so it's nice and clean. Plated the distributor cap screws so they were correct. White cad. I don't know if you could see back there, but there's the correct heater hose clamps. This is original, so I didn't want to change any of the original wiring, but it's just that's just the way it is. That's just from wear and tear. Angled correct battery hold down with the cover. Washer bag was there. Let's see what else. Removed the paint that was there and plated everything and had the nuts plated correctly. What else? Yeah, I mean, we did the hood pad, so the hood pad's correct. So a ton of little details. Also, brake booster hose is correct with the clamp. But yeah, and then also the hood surround trim is correct. Square plastic kind of piece. You know, when you think about it, everybody said this car was pretty close, but I mean, I just kind of named at least 10 or 15 points, maybe even more, just in the engine compartment alone. So had a lot of work to do here. So moving on to the interior, I refinished the steering wheel. So that's all done. Clean the gauges so the lenses are clear, not fogged and dirty. We took the, I took the shifter out and had that re-chromed, so everything here is nice and new. Replaced the window switches because the window switches were the incorrect ones, so these are now the correct GTC window switches. I want to get this a little tighter. What else did I do? Obviously I did the had reproduction chrome strips made, and those were re-chromed and installed because those were incorrect on the car. Well, let's see what else. This is the seat belts done. Those are the correct seat belts. Let me see if I can get this over. This is where I had that little Made the little plug that was missing for the emergency trunk latch. So had that done, oh, up here also had put the little rubber, let's see if you can see that, the little rubber nipple on the end of the rear view mirror. What else? And just overall clean things up. Took some of the overspray off of some of these panels, and just made sure, I mean, I think I got everything in here. The right side just has the mat, the overmat on the carpeting, but everything matches, and I think I've got everything here kind of sorted. I'm pretty sure. I mean, we have the right seat belts with the right webbing. So I think I've got all the interior details installed and corrected. And then outside, we had the issues with the windows, so we went so far as to get the side window replaced because of that scratch. So this is even with the correct stamp, and that's all in. So I replaced both sides and had that done. Another thing I had done was the gas tank little emblem taken off and re-chromed. So now all I'm really waiting for is just the bumper, the rear bumper. That's just waiting for my plater to send that back, and I can reinstall it. Otherwise, everything on this car is just about done. So I have a problem with this GTC that I'm taking to the show. There's a trunk light, and it works, you know, the on and off, right? But what it's missing is the bulb cover, and that has been difficult to find. It's glass, and I've asked the usual suspects, haven't been able to find one. It's car shipping out in a week or so, so I don't know what to do. Yeah, a judge that doesn't really know that it's there might not notice it because the shield covers it, but all you got to do is bend down and look, and you'll notice that there's no cover. So what's the solution? So on my car, in the trunk is the light, and it has the glass bulb. So I think I'm going to take one for the team and lend it to the owner of the green GTC. Maybe if I can find one, or maybe somebody who's watching knows where I can find one, can send it to me and I can put mine back on. But for the show, I feel like we gotta do what we gotta do. So my car is gonna sacrifice its little glass lens for the show. Hopefully I'll get it back one way or another, but we gotta do what we gotta do. So the reason why this thing is so hard to find is because it's glass. So it's like a frosted piece of glass, and I guess you could have somebody make a mold of this in plastic, but if a judge knows what they're looking at and they tap it and it's not glass, it's a potential deduction. I mean, would people really deduct for it? I don't know. But the point is, it's just one of those things where I think you need to have the right thing. So this is the one that came out of my car. I'm going to donate it to this car. If somebody has one of these things, please send it to me so I could replace the one that I'm giving up, but or I'll end up getting this one back, hopefully. Well, it's installed in the car, so that little detail is taken care of. Well, my request was answered through the wonderful internet. I want to thank Wade for selling me a glass bulb for the lens that I needed to replace the one that I donated to the 330 GTC. I'm gonna throw this in the ultrasonic cleaner, clean up the glass, and everything will be restored back to the way it was with a new glass bulb. Thanks, Wade. Boy, I tell you, it never ends with this car. Every time I turn around, I see something else that's not right. You know, I saw that I missed the hose clamps on the back over here. Had a couple other little things that I just wanted to address. So every time I turn around, I just see another thing that needs to be corrected on this car. And also, I've sent some pictures out to my friends to take a look at them, and they've picked out some things. So it's always just it's an ongoing process. At some point, I'm going to finish, and this car is going to be ready to go. But for now, I'm just going to keep ticking away at it. I mean, it just seems like every time there's another little thing. I just saw the inside of this splash shield, or the little radiator pan, was kind of crusty and dirty, so I decided to go ahead and paint it. So I feel like we dodged a bullet on this one. You know, sometimes when you look at these cars and you're restoring them and you're detailing them, and you're just looking at it. I've been looking at this car for months. I've been posting videos. I've been doing blog posts about it. And sometimes you look at a car over and over again. I have this, maybe it's just me, but I get this tendency where I start to get blind to the specific details. I mean, I tried my best to make a list. I've done everything that I can, but it seems that every time I turn around, I find something else that needs to be adjusted or fixed or detailed so that it's correct and will do well in a show. And I was very fortunate the other day when I had some friends over, and they were looking at this car, and we were talking about how much work has been going into it. And he said, "Oh, can I look in the trunk?" And he looked in the trunk, and we took the spare out, or at least looked at the spare, and lo and behold, the spare was not matching. It was a Yokohama tire, which, you know, obviously wasn't available back then in the 60s for Ferrari. They obviously didn't put them in. What they did put in were XWX tires, and they make these in reproduction, but they're a very specific size. 330 GTC uses a 14-inch tire, which is the official size is a 205 VR14, which is kind of like these balloon tires. They're really big, tall sidewalls, because before they started doing like a 70 series or a 60 series or a 40 series that we see today, they just had radials that were, you know, the one size. So it translates roughly to an 80 series tire. But the GTC specifically was fitted with a 205 VR14. And they either came in Michelin's or they came in Dunlop SPs. And for a show car, you have to have, if they're available, which they are, Michelin XWXs are available in reproduction. So that's the tire that should be on the car, and technically it should match the other tires. Like if you have a spare tire, it should be the same spare tire as you have on the rest of the car. Now I know on the ruling, like some of these cars came with wire wheels, and so the dealer having what was in the trunk was not, doesn't necessarily have to be, and I believe this is true, is that if you had a wire wheel in the trunk and then you had 4 Campanolo alloys, I think they're okay with it. I think most of these cars were delivered with the Campanolos, but the options were with the wires. So I could definitely see somebody ordering, and we agreed as judges that when someone ordered a car and he went to the dealer and he says, "Oh, I'd really like to have wires," even if the car is delivered with mags, they would have just put on 4 wire wheels and then kept the spare in the trunk. And the spare could have very well have been a wire wheel or the other car, you know, the other wheel. It could have had hot wires, could have had a Campanolo. Now, admittedly, you should look at the build sheet and say, okay, well, what did the car get delivered as the build sheet? But a build sheet was what the car was sold when it left the factory. But I'll guarantee you that if it got delivered to a dealership and the guy wanted to buy wire wheels, or he wanted the other wheels and they weren't on the car, the dealer would have done whatever it took to put the right wheels on the car that the guy was buying. So that's not necessarily the problem. But what was the problem is that I couldn't put this car on the show field with the wrong spare. Now, would they have seen it? Maybe not. But I couldn't leave that to chance. So I needed to find a Michelin XWX. Now, these tires are not cheap, and they're not always available, and it's getting close to Cavallino. I don't know if I had time. Luckily, I had an old XWX that was in decent shape, not the best shape. It wasn't a tire that I wanted to throw on another car, but it was in my shop, and I said, okay, well, here's the chance. I can give this tire to the owner to use and mount on the spare and put it in the trunk, and we wouldn't get any deductions. So here we go. So this is the Michelin, and I got the Michelin tire, and I got it mounted, and it's going to go back into the trunk and hide underneath the spare tire cover. So if a judge was eagle-eyed enough to say, hey, can I take a look at the spare tire, pop the paddle open and look inside, and it'll be the right tire. So another point gained back on this car. So I'm getting really close to finishing this car. You know, I've been reading the comments, and, you know, I get a comment every once in a while that just says, boy, you know, I would just drive this car. Why would you go through all this? Or some people are a little baffled about show cars. And couple things that I see and would like to comment on this. I think that this hobby is kind of filled with whomever and whatever they want to do with these cars. I mean, I do everything for these cars. I will prep them to drive them. I will fix them so they maintain them. I will also get them ready for show. It's all another facet of the business that I do around vintage Ferrari. I agree that it's not for everybody. I mean, not everybody wants to show a car and go through this, you know, expense and trauma and time and energy to make a show car. But I also see the benefits of it. People who have a show car has an award that basically says, yes, this car is near perfect, according to the judges that know these cars. And to have that for someone who owns the car, it certainly helps the provenance of the car. I think a lot of times, you know, I get frustrated because, you know, dealers, brokers, and people who are in the business of selling these cars are always saying, oh, it's a show car. You know, buy this Ferrari because it's perfect. It's a Concours car. And I want to call bullshit, because I always say, well, show me the award. Because, you know, it's only a show car or a platinum car if you show me a platinum. Otherwise, it's not a platinum car. And what I'm trying to do with these videos is basically to show you all the details that it takes to get a car to platinum. Now, I could take another car, and in the very beginning, when I'm building the car, start using the correct screws, the right fasteners, the right fit, the right plate, the right things, and everything gets plated right, replace the things that are broken, and do it right from the beginning. That's the right way, or at least the best way, to build a show car. What I'm trying to do with this green car is as a challenge to me, is to see, can we get a car that's pretty nice? It has great visual appeal, but it's still, when you start counting up all the things that are wrong, it's not a winner. And what I'm trying to do is, can I make this car into a winner by fixing all the mistakes that I found on this car? And I think the owner was a little surprised by how many things, even though he came close to winning the last couple of times he ran it across the show field, he was shocked by how many more things I found that were wrong. And what I try to explain to him is that, you know, these are the things that they may have just not stopped counting, but these are still wrong on this car. And I think one of the things that he felt, and he bought this car from a, you know, fairly well-known dealer, and they told him it was good. And I don't know if they sold it to him as a show car, but it certainly looked the part. But my simple answer to that is, like, they never built a show car. They can certainly sell you a car and say, oh, it's show ready. I mean, no offense to auction houses and show. These people are salesmen. They will sell you whatever it takes to sell you the car. Of course, every car they sell is a show car. Of course, every used Ferrari is perfect, needs nothing, ready to drive. That's just salesmanship. But when it comes to actually having a platinum winning car, that's a whole different story. So, like, my feeling is, if you're going to get into the whole world of showing Ferraris and you want to buy a car that's a show car, buy one that has the platinum award, because that'll get you a closer chance to owning an actual platinum or show winning car than just taking the word of a broker or a auction house that's telling you that it's a show car. They don't show cars. Brokers don't show cars. Auction houses don't show cars, because they know better. They know that they would not, the money that they would spend to get their cars in their inventory to show, they would lose on profit. The whole point of auction houses and brokers is to make the maximum amount of profit without spending any money on the cars. And building a show car is the last thing someone who wants to profit from the car is going to do. Now, this owner, if he wins with the Platinum, he does increase the value of his car, but it's still an unknown cost that goes into doing it. So my point is just enjoy the car in whatever way that you want to do it, but it's just a little insight into what it takes to do a show car. You know, at some point, I'm just going to have to call it done. I'm going to send it to the owner so that his detailer can clean it up. I mean, I've kept it relatively clean. It still has my fingerprints and things like that on it and a little dusty, but I got all the details correct, and I'm just waiting for a couple little things that I'm painting and getting to dry out, and then I'm going to basically send the car. I have a couple little stickers I still have to order, but we're getting there. So look to see this and see it. Hopefully we'll do okay at this show. I just put a lot of work into getting this thing done, and let's hope it pays off.